Welcome to Wired to Be Rich, the podcast where we uncover the truths about creating wealth, and not just financial wealth, but emotional, spiritual, and mental abundance. I'm your host, Manda, and today we're diving into a deeply personal story. But don't get it twisted. This isn't just about me. This episode is about how my journey can help you rewrite your own and catapult you to becoming the most whole, loving, abundant, and authentic version of yourself. Have you ever felt like something inside of you was stirring? Like there's this quiet voice, not dramatic or loud, but clear enough telling you that it's time to shift, to grow, and to leave behind things that no longer feel like you? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. This episode is about transformation. It's not about breaking down, but more so about breaking through. It's about recognizing that you're already whole and that everything you need to thrive is already within you. We're not here to talk about losing. We're going to be focusing on finding the version of yourself that's been waiting just beneath the surface. So if you're ready, I'm ready, and we can dive right in. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how the universe starts with whispers? Little signs that something's off? Well, for me, those whispers came in the form of sleepless nights, anxiety, and eventually a couple trips to the ER. My heart was racing. My heart rate was up 250 beats per minute. Ambulance rushed me to the hospital because they didn't know what was wrong with me. I really thought something was physically wrong with me. But after we ran all the tests multiple times, the EKGs and everything, the doctor checked me out and told me that I was in great top tier health. So that's when I said, okay, you know what? My body is really talking to me. My body is telling me that my life is no longer working. That's when I started actually listening to what my body was trying to alert me to. Here's the thing though. Most people don't even stop to question why they feel the way they do. We're so busy that we ignore the signs telling us that something needs to shift. What if those headaches, that exhaustion, that deep down sense of uneasiness is your body saying, wake up, something is not right? Life always gives you clues when it's time to change. For me, it wasn't some sudden revelation. Like it didn't just hit me. It was over a series of events. Waking up every morning feeling disconnected from my own path, feeling the weight of choices that no longer felt like mine. Nothing was quote unquote wrong on the surface, but deep down, I knew I was out of alignment. And yet, despite the signs, I was surrounded by voices telling me to stay the course. My fiance at the time thought I should push through the stress at work, that it wasn't worth leaving a stable job, especially with no backup. And I halfway don't blame him because hey, it's scary. Bills got to get paid. I had friends telling me to fix my relationship, even though it was causing both him and I pain. And when I started sharing my friendship struggles online, my chosen way of processing and connecting, I was told to keep it private, to silence myself, and that it was embarrassing. Everywhere I turned, there was someone telling me how to live my life, or trying to at least. But one day, I decided that I had enough. Enough of the opinions, enough of the external noise, enough of being told to shrink myself to fit other people's expectations. That day, I chose me. I chose to trust my own voice, to quiet the chaos, and step into what I knew was right for me. A much better life, a much happier life, and a much more successful environment. That decision, those decisions changed everything for me. Not immediately and not without challenges. I cried so many nights, but it changed me in ways that I could have never imagined. Choosing myself set my life on a new trajectory, one that was truer and more aligned with than anything I had ever known before. So let's do a quick little check-in. I want you to take a moment to check in with yourself. Are the voices, but I'm talking about people, not real voices, y'all. If you're hearing voices, please go see a doctor. But are the voices or people in your life drowning out your own voice? Are you holding back because of what others might say or think? If so, here is your reminder that no one else is living your life but you. Their opinions are theirs to keep, and your truth is yours to honor. So often, we're carrying the weight of what other people expect of us. Society tells you to keep the job because it's safe, to stay in the relationship because it's comfortable, to stick to the script because it's normal. But what if those whispers, those uneasy, gnawing feelings are actually your soul begging you to rewrite your own story. Someone recently asked me, said, Manda, how do you block out the noise and trust yourself? And here's my answer. You start by asking yourself what feels true to you. Not what's easiest, not what's expected, but what feels true. And then you take one step in that direction. The more you do it, the clearer your voice becomes. And let's be honest here. We as human beings are naturally wired to be terrified of losing the things that make us feel secure. But here's the truth. Clinging to something that's no longer aligned with you is way scarier than letting it go. Growth feels like disruption. And for me, this past year has been a masterclass in letting go. My engagement ended, friendships I thought were forever faded away, and I made the decision to leave a career that no longer inspired me, even though it terrified me to walk away. These weren't easy decisions at all. Those are really big turning points in a life that I went through 3 to 4 of them in 1 year. They came with grief, with doubt, with moments of questioning if I was making the right choice. But every time I let go of something that wasn't aligned, I felt lighter. I felt more like myself. And in that space, I started to dream again. I started to imagine a life that wasn't about surviving or pleasing others, but about thriving as the fullest version of me, the most free version of me. So here's what I want you to know. Letting go isn't about losing. It's about making space. It's about choosing freedom over what's familiar. And yes, it is scary, but it's also where the magic happens. All right, so let's reflect. Think about this for a second. If everything you were holding on to suddenly fell away, the job, the relationship, the expectations, what would you be left with? Because I know the answer, but what would you be left with? I know that sounds terrifying, but maybe, just maybe, it's also the opening that you've been waiting for. Sometimes we have to lose everything we thought we needed to discover what is truly meant for us. What if your free fall into the unknown is actually your launch pad? One of you asked me on my socials, how do you let go of something when it's all you've ever known? And my answer is that you honor it for what it gave you. You let yourself feel the loss, and then you remind yourself that growth doesn't mean erasing the past. It means building on it, evolving from it, and stepping into what's next. Starting over doesn't mean starting from scratch. It means starting from experience. Every decision I made to choose myself wasn't about abandoning my past or my loved ones. It was about taking the lessons, the strength, and the clarity I gained and using it to create something new. This process isn't linear, and I know it's hard, y'all. It can be messy and it can be imperfect, but it's also powerful. It's about asking yourself, what do I truly want? And allowing yourself to dream without limits. It's about taking small, consistent steps toward a life that feels like truly yours, not anyone else's version, but yours. Let me share one of the hardest truths I learned recently. Clarity doesn't come when life is comfortable. It comes when everything feels like chaos. I remember sitting on the floor of my apartment, my new apartment that I'm in now, surrounded by boxes I had not unpacked yet, and it was just me and my dog. I felt so empty, but in that emptiness, I realized something. I realized that I had space to start over, space to ask, what now? And in that space, I started asking the hard questions. Why did I choose to stay in relationships that didn't honor me? Why did I silence my needs to make others more comfortable? Why did I trade my authenticity for approval? And most importantly, what would it look like to finally put myself first? Clarity isn't a lightning bolt. It's a process. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and sometimes it feels like you're taking 3 steps back just to move 1 step forward. But every single one of those steps matter. Every single question you ask yourself is a breadcrumb leading you back to your truth. Someone else messaged me and asked, how do you even start asking those hard questions when it feels overwhelming? And that's a very great question. My advice is to start small. Start with one question. One thing in your life that feels the heaviest right now, start with that. Write it down, sit with it, and let your mind and heart unravel it one thread at a time. You don't have to have the answer to everything all at once. You just have to start. This is where I want to invite you to reflect again. What are the stories that you're telling yourself about why you can't let go of something that isn't serving you? What would happen if you rewrote those stories? What would happen if you decided that your happiness was worth the discomfort of change? Write it down, talk it out, but don't let it sit inside of you unresolved. I will never forget. So, like I said, I ended a 5-year relationship this year. We were engaged. He was my best friend. And the days leading up to him actually deciding to move back after we discussed ending things, I had a very, very, very vivid dream. And in that dream, we were in our apartment. It was him and I was at the front door and I was trying to lock it. So, like if you can imagine, like when you lock the door, it clicks into place, right? So in the dream, the knob was turning to lock it, but it wasn't actually sticking. It just kept spinning and spinning. And I was like holding the door closed because it was something like beating the door down, trying to come inside. And so my fiance at the time in the dream, he came out and was like, "What are you doing? Like, what's going on? Who's at the door?" And I was like, "It's a monster outside. That monster's trying to come in and get me. It's trying to come and get me." And then he was like, "Just let it go. Let it in. Let it in." This is what my fiance is saying in the dream. Just let it in. So then I was like, screw it. I got up from the door on the floor, trying to hold it closed, and ran to the room. And when you're dreaming, when you're running in slow motion. So in the dream, I'm running in slow motion to the room to go lock myself in the room now. Because I'm like, this monster's not going to get me. And as I was running in the dream, I looked back and the monster was chasing me. And it was so scary. It's big and scary. It's like one big, scary, big blob. And on it, it said insecurities and shadow and fears. I'm literally not joking, y'all. And so I was running some more. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And I looked back again in the dream and the monster turned into me. It's like I was looking at myself. And then I stopped being afraid and I stopped. And that's all I really remember from the dream. I remember waking up. I woke up kind of crying because I was like, whoa, that was a powerful dream. That dream taught me that God was saying, stop running from yourself. There's nothing to be afraid of in this life. Literally nothing at all. The only thing that you're afraid of is your own insecurities, your own fears, your own doubts, your own shadow, the parts of yourself that you don't want to admit that you have, the parts of yourself that you're fearful of becoming. Why? I don't know. We're scared. We're scared beings as humans. That dream taught me that I have to face my own fears, face my own shadow in order for me to truly move forward. And that next day or the day after that, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to end things. And it was hard. It was so, so, so hard. But I definitely feel like that dream was not a coincidence. So that's why I say, when you decide to let the fear of the unknown take a backseat to the possibility of something better, that's when true abundance comes in. That's when your life can truly change and transform in the ways that it's meant to. Here are 3 things that I learned from losing it all this year. Your body never lies to you. Ever. Ever. If something feels off, pay attention to it. Don't wait for your body to shout or to break down or to go into a whole panic attack. Listen to what your body is telling you. Our bodies will show us signs before our mind does because the body keeps score. That's a book. Y'all didn't know. Check it out. The second thing is letting go isn't failure. It's freedom. Sometimes we hold on because we're scared of what's next, but trust me, nothing is scarier than staying stuck in a life that doesn't feel like yours. The last thing is that your journey is yours and yours alone. Stop comparing your path to someone else's. What's right for you will never look exactly like what's right for them, and that's a good thing. What one person may have had to go through to achieve the level of success they have does not mean that you have to also walk that same path, the same journey. It doesn't even mean that it has to be as hard. It doesn't have to be. That's where autonomy and free will comes in. You can choose to literally build the life you want and have the journey look exactly how you want it to be. If you don't want it to come with that much struggle, it doesn't have to be. It's about your mindset. It's about how you see things, how you perceive things, your resilience. It doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to look like the next person's. Remember, this path is yours. You should be as delusional as you can be to create the life that you truly want. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. It don't even have to make sense to you in a moment. What matters is that it feels true to you. It makes you happy and you stick to it. You have discipline and you dedicate yourself to building and creating the journey and the life that you truly want. The journey isn't about arriving somewhere. It's about becoming more of who you're meant to be. The journey is the fun part, y'all. And because once you arrive at your destination, that's it. When it's all said and done, when it's time for us to meet our maker, you're going to be like, how did I spend this life? What did this life mean for me? The journey is what you make it. Life is fun. It does come with its challenges and hardships. Trust me, I know. But it's yours. It's your life. Nobody else's. It's yours. Someone asked me on my socials again, how do you deal with setbacks when you're trying to move forward? And my response is you do not fight them, you accept them. Setbacks are not failures. They're part of the process. And every time I stumbled, I reminded myself that this is just a chapter and not the whole book. Moments of stumbling taught me more than the smooth ones ever could, if I'm being honest. So, as I begin to wrap this up, I want to leave you with this. You don't need to wait for your life to fall apart to start building the one that you want. You can choose right now to listen to what your heart and intuition are telling you. You can choose right now to believe that you deserve better. And you can choose right now to take the first step toward your authentic self. But wait, before you go, I do want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of our next episode because this next one will transform how you approach dating, wealth, and high value connections. Over the past month, stepping back into the dating world has been a game changer for me. In just a month of opening myself up to a new world and saying, you know what, I'm not going to sit at home and be sad. I'm going to go outside and live. It has opened up a lot of new doors that I never even thought would. If I'm being honest, I'm attracting men of high value and high status, men who don't just meet my energy, but raise the bar for what's possible in every area of life. And in this episode, we'll talk about how aligning with financial abundance and elevating your standards puts you in a league where you're not just dating, you're connecting with men who embody success, ambition, and class. And I know for the male listeners, you can use this episode and twist it for the women in your life, whatever you like. Hey, okay? This isn't just about surface level status. It's about building relationships with partners who amplify your worth and mirror the life you're creating. We're also diving into the power of protecting your personal brand in a world that rewards discretion. I'll share why staying quiet about who you're dating and the life you're building isn't about secrecy. It's about safeguarding the energy and reputation you've worked so hard to establish. High status men value women who carry themselves with elegance and intention, and this episode will show you how to master that balance. So if you are ready to elevate your dating life and step into a realm where wealth, alignment, and love coexist seamlessly, then this one's going to be for you because we're getting into the dirty details, y'all. So thank you so much for being here with me today. If today's episode resonated with you, let me know. Send me a message, share your story, or just take a moment to reflect. You're not alone in this journey, and I'm honored to walk alongside you. Until then, stay focused, stay elevated, and remember, the life you're building deserves intention that matches your vision. See you next time on Wired to Be Rich.